Hi class, in this module we're going to talk about a couple of properties. The first property that's going to show up as we solve equations, and in this case I'm referring to, give me just a second, I'm referring to the first set of problems. In this case for the first example, problem 1 and problem 1A and B, they want us to use the cross multiplication. So to use the cross multiplication, this is what it's referring to. So we technically have an equation that has fractions on both sides. And what we're doing here is you're multiplying these two and one side of the equation and then these two on the other side of the equation, which is what gives them this portion here. Now, this idea of the cross multiplication may be easier to solve some problems. For other problems, it'll be about the same length of work, but it's just another tool that happens to work here. So let me actually apply this to problem 1. And the instructions on this particular problem is to use the cross multiplication. Now, here's the basic idea. Before we write the next step, the following two are going to multiply. So we're talking about the multiplication of these two and those two, and then we're going to put them on, well, on one side of the equation. So on the left, I'm going to put the multiplication of 3 times 40. So this will be 3 times 40, and this is equal to the multiplication of 4 times t. So this is 4 times t. Now, the advantage of the cross multiplication is that from having a fraction equaling another fraction, you can express it as, well, no longer fractions. And then what we could do here is the division of the 4s. And then, well, we end up with 3 times 40 over the values of 4 is equal to t. We just have to technically multiply. And we've solved the problem. So notice that, well, the 4 here was already on the left-hand side and technically isolated without the variable. Using the cross multiplication actually cancels the fraction in one step. In this step, there's technically no more fractions, but it puts the 4 with the variable, which you then have to divide. So on this particular problem, maybe about the same amount of work. Okay, so let me simplify the fraction, and we technically have 3, and 4 times 10 divided by 4 is equal to t. And at this step, we can actually cancel the 4s, and we're left with the values of 3 times 10 is equal to t, or 30 is equal to t. Let me just rewrite it in the proper form. In this case, t is equal to 30. That's it for this one, and let me just go back to the properties. The first property, as I mentioned, is the cross multiplication. And this only works if you technically have a fraction equaling another fraction, not if you have multiple fractions. So only if you have a fraction equaling another fraction, then you can cross multiply it and you cancel the actual fractions. Let's go to the second problem on example 1. On problem 1b, and same idea, they want us to use for both of these the cross multiplication property. So we're going to multiply these two and those two, and this is going to give us, well, the values of 5x, and this is equal to the values of 3 times 2. And then let me get rid of that fraction. So, well, let me get rid of the 5, which is going to cause a fraction. So at this point, we end up with x is equal to 3 times 2 divided by 5, or x is equal to 6/5. And that's actually it for these two problems. The other problems have separate, different instructions, so I'll just write them in a different video.